we said last week that Prophet Nuh alayhi salam is a Rasul, so he's the first Rasul, right? Even Adam was not a Rasul, he was Nabi. And we said, Inna arsalna Rasul, arsalna Prophet Nuh. And we had a lot of questions at the end of the session last week. So inshallah, we will talk about those questions. And before we do that, I'm going to just read the section for today, which is chapter 71, verses 13 to 24. So first, let's start with a quick glance or maybe listening of the section for today, inshallah, and then we'll proceed. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ما لكم لا ترجون لله وقارا وقد خلقكم أطوارا ألم تروا كيف خلق الله سبع سماوات طباقا وجعل القمر فيهن نورا وجعل الشمس سراجا والله أنبتكم من الأرض نباتا ثم يعيدكم فيها ويخرجكم إخراجا والله جعل لكم الأرض بساطا لتسلكوا منها سبلا فجاجا قال نوح رب إنهم عصوني واتبعوا من لم يزده ماله وولده إلا خسارا ومكروا مكرا كبارا وقالوا لا تذرن آلهتكم ولا تذرن ودا ولا سواعا ولا يغوث ويعوق ونسرا وقد أضلوا كثيرا ولا تزد الظالمين إلا ضلالا. Okay, so inshallah we stop at ayah 24 for this week. So in ayah 13, in this verse, ayah 13, it says, مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَرْجُونَ لِلَّهِ وَقَارًا. What is the matter with you? What is wrong with you that you do not give Allah his due grandeur? Or this is French word, grandeur is French word, means his due proportion or magnitude. Why don't you give Allah what he deserves as far as magnifying him? You know, what he has created you. And not only that, if you think about the steps in Allah's creation of humanity, you should give him his due waqar. Waqar means his grandeur or magnitude or you know his level that he should be respected. And this is also the next verse is also explaining a little bit about how Allah has created us, and we should respect the grandeur of Allah. So look at this. It says, you should recognize Allah's greatness because وَقَدْ خَلَقَكُمْ أَطْوَارًا, because he has created you in different stages, right? And just starting from that miracle of life that Allah has you know, created us in different phases or stages, we should give him his greatness, his due greatness. It's due to him. What are these different states? We know that from different verses of the Quran, where we know that we have been created from a fluid, from a drop of fluid, starting from there and then moving on to a clot, then to a lump of flesh, then, you know, he shaped us into human beings, and then slowly over our lifetime, we go through different phases, right? So, خَلَقَكُمْ أَطْوَارًا. He has created you in different stages. And just because of that, or starting from that miracle, we should give him his due greatness or grandeur, right? Then another way of questioning the disbelievers comes in the successive questions here, like when you see in ayah 15, for example, it says, أَلَمْ تَرَوْا كَيْفَ خَلَقَ اللَّهُ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ طِبَاقًا. Do you not see or do you not consider how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created 7 heavens in layers, right? 7 heavens. So this is a verse of reflection. You can say that they cannot really see the 7 layers of the skies like with the naked eye, but it can be a call to scientific vision, not like eye vision, but scientific vision. It's not like Tara. And you see the translation in English doesn't see, do you see? It says, do you consider? So in fact, because the human eye cannot just see beyond the first sky or the first heaven, let alone the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, right? So this is why scholars, Mufassirun, say this is a scientific vision of reflection or consideration that Prophet Nuh alayhi salam is conveying to his nation or to his people. Um, and this knowledge is something which has been revealed since the times of Prophet Adam, whereby the heavens have been layered. Allah has created heavens or skies in different layers. So it says, do you not see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created 7 heavens in layers? So it's more, you can say it's more of a rhetorical question. Uh, and in Arabic, we call this su'al taqrir or su'al taqriri. And it's meant to affirm that Allah, the Almighty Creator, has actually made these skies in 7 layers, successive layers. And as a result, or as a consequence, he is definitely deserving of worship. He is the only one who is worthy of worship. And then in another successive ayah, the one that comes after, وَجَعَلَ الشَّمْسَ فِيهِنَّ نُورًا وَجَعَلَ الشَّمْسَ سِرَاجًا. And look at the cosmos. Allah made the moon therein a reflected light and made the sun a burning lamp. Another source of his magnitude or grandeur or greatness. The sun is called the siraj, الشمس سراجا والنور والقمر نورا. So the attributes of sun are that one is a siraj, and the attribute of the qamar is that nur. And subhanallah, the words of the Quran are really in sync, or they can be quite harmoniously reconciled with scientific facts, because siraj is a lamp, and the lamp combines both light and heat, burning heat. So it means it is a source of emitting light, and it is a source of heat, right? While the moon, the word moon, nur, does not have contained in it the same definition as the word siraj, because the moon, nur, it is only a weak light, which is a reflection. It doesn't emit light. Okay. So siraj means that it is a source of emission, and of course a source of heat, whereby nur means this is a reflection of another light, which is the light of the sun. And it doesn't have the implication of heat in it. Okay? So subhanAllah, the words are really well chosen, because Allah knows what He does. When He wants to convey information, He uses the right words for us to understand. And then وَجَعَلَ فِيهِنَّ, He has created in them and made the moon, sorry, وَجَعَلَ قَمَرَ فِيهِنَّ, and He had created within the moon. This one, fihinna, just as far as Tajweed is concerned, we're not talking about Tafseer here, but about Tajweed, there are 2 qira'at. There's fihinna with kasra on the ha, and there is another recitation, which is also quite widespread, fihunna with the dhamma on the ha, which both have been recited by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So fihinna and fihunna. And then the next verse, another miracle of life contributed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to humanity. وَاللَّهُ أَنبَتَكُم مِّنَ الْأَرْضِ نَبَاتًا. And Allah has caused you, O humanity, to grow from the earth a progressive growth, in the same way as plants grow. So there's like an analogy here, that we grow from the earth progressively as plants grow from it. So this verse 17, can be also combined with the next verse in terms of understanding the meaning. And we can read the next verse just to understand how they can be combined. ثُمَّ يُعِيدُكُمْ فِيهَا وَيُخْرِجُكُمْ إِخْرَاجًا. So not only Allah has caused you to grow from the earth, a progressive growth, but then He will return you to the same earth, into it, and extract you another extraction. So this relates to the cycle of life, brothers and sisters. So we are created from dust, from the earth, and we come back to the earth. We grow from it, and we come back to it. So you see, this is the resurrection cycle, to show us the cycle of nature and of creation, of death and rebirth. So this is a reminder of Prophet Nuh to his nation, that you are going to go back to your original state eventually. To dust, basically. You're going back to the earth, from the earth to the earth. Okay? He will return you into it. وَيُعِيدُكُمْ فِيهَا. وَيُعِيدُكُمْ فِيهَا meaning to this al-ard. He will return you to the actual earth. Okay. Ayah 19. وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ بِسَاطًا. Since we are talking about the earth, let's talk about it. And you see, brothers, actually, it's a beautiful sequence here from the beginning of the call to pondering. Like when Allah uses these verses, He's using some successive, sequence by starting first by Him, and then He is telling us about the skies. Look at it. It starts from the verticality of the sky, and then it goes down to the two apparent, stars and planets, the sun, and then the moon, and then from the moon we go down to the earth, the actual earth, the soil, our level, our ecological level, actually. So here the earth, right? يُعِيدُكُمْ فِيهَا يُخْرِجُكُمْ. He will return to you, to the earth. And how about that earth? Talking about the earth, وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ بِسَاطًا. And Allah has made for you this earth, or the earth, as an expanse. This is verse 19. This means that we have seen this meaning in other chapters, actually. It means that this earth has been spread out. بِسَاطًا يَبْسُطُهَا. It means that it has been appropriate or adequate or smooth for human life. It's actually fit for human living. He has made it fit for human living. Okay, there is no craters every now and then, like every 10 meters of volcanoes, and like you will find, of course, volcanoes and mountains, but for the most part is livable. No, alhamdulillah. And then in ayah 20 we go to the next verse. It says, this earth which He has made as livable or smooth for human life, لتسكنوا منها سبلا فجاجا, so that you may follow within this earth or therein roads of passage. So the earth has been structured in such a way that allows for pathways, for roads, for passages, enabling people to travel relatively easily. And then, in spite of all these blessings that have been mentioned above, that we have been listing here, that Allah has provided us with, subhanallah, what is the result? Despite all the persistent calls and the efforts that Prophet Nuh alayhi salam did, what does he get in return? It's said in this verse 21. He only gets rejection, and he gets rebellion from his people. So what did he say? He says in ayah 21, قال نوح رب إنهم عصوني واتبعوا من لم يزده ماله وولده إلا خسارا. Noah said, complaining to his Lord in a dua, my Lord, Rabbi, indeed they have disobeyed me. عصوني, which actually is the thing that they shouldn't have done if we refer back to what Nuh came with, alayhi salam. If we look back at last week, وَأَطِيعُونَ, he came with clear instructions from Allah. Allah told him to teach his people to do three things: worship Allah, fear Allah, and obey Nuh, obey me. But in spite of that, in ayah 21, sorry, Prophet Nuh has said that they didn't obey me, actually. They didn't. Asawni, they disobeyed me. I tried to make them obey me, but they disobeyed me. So, in spite of all his efforts, they disobeyed me and followed the type of person whose wealth and children will not increase him except in loss. So after all these efforts, what we mentioned before, this is kind of constant da'wah of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Imagine Prophet Nuh, some people call him that he is one of the longest living prophets, right? They say 1,000 years minus 50. Night and day. We have talked about this. Openly, secretly, subhanAllah, he kept reminding them, and still, even with all that, nothing but obstinacy from them. And Allah gets the supplication of Prophet Nuh. He says, indeed, they have disobeyed me. Rabbi, innahum asawni. They have disobeyed me. And what did they do? They followed him whose wealth and children do not increase him except in loss except in loss. So they obeyed who? They obeyed their leaders. They obeyed the people who are the figures, the big shots, the famous people, the leaders uh, who have wealth and who have children, progeny. But that only increased them in loss and increased them in becoming more rebellious and increased them in getting more distant from the deen, from the faith. It didn't bring them back to the fold of the deen, but it just kept them away from you, Ya Allah. And then in ayah 22, we have just the 2-3 ayahs left. وَمَكَرُوا مَكْرًا كُبَّارًا. And in addition to that, they planned or conspired an immense conspiracy, makr, a big, mighty plan. They started plotting or conspiring. So the leaders of the disbelief, they plotted a major scheme to distance people or to mislead them from the message of Islam, from the call of Noah. Subhanallah. You know, makr is the plotting that has a negative agenda to make people away from the deen. Like, for example, there is another chapter I'd like to show you, which is in Surah Saba, Surah Saba, where the word makr is used. Yeah, makr. Makr, you see it, right? وقال الذين استضعفوا للذين استكبروا بل مكر الليل والنهار إذ تأمروننا أن نكفر بالله ونجعل له أندادا وأسروا الندامة لما رأوا العذاب وجعلنا الأغلال في أعناق الذين كفروا هل يجزون إلا ما كانوا يعملون. Those who were oppressed will say to those who were arrogant, rather it was your conspiracy. You conspired night and day when you were ordering us to disbelieve in Allah and attribute to Him equal. So the makr is just making people distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you ordered us, or when you were ordering us to disbelieve in Allah and attribute to Him equals shirk billah. But they will all confide regret when they see the punishment. At that time, it will be too late. And we will put shackles on the necks of those who disbelieved. Will they be recompensed except for what they used to do? Al-Makr, subhanallah. So look at the intense plotting of the disbelievers. You know, those disbelievers, those people they followed those whose wealth and children will not increase and except in loss. Those are the people who did the makr, who were plotting immensely. And then the two last verses, وَقَالُوا لَا تَذَرُنَّ آلِهَتَكُمْ وَلَا تَذَرُنَّ وَدًّا وَلَا سُوَاعًا وَلَا يَغُوثَ وَيَعُوقَ وَنَسْرًا. And these people said, never leave your gods. Never leave Wad or Suwa' or Yaghuth or Ya'uq and Nasr. Don't leave them for what Nuh calls you. He calls you to worship only one God. Don't do that. Don't leave your former gods that you used to worship. This is a bit like the Quraysh, who love to worship others. So this means that they urged one another to remain firm in the idol worshipping and don't abandon their false deities, their false gods. They specifically mention them by name. Wad, Suwa', Yaghuth, Ya'uq, and Nasr. We have 5. And you know, some Mufassirun, they say that these names of gods, false gods, they used to be the names of originally righteous people. These used to be righteous men. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, who is very famous for Tafseer of Quran, he said that these idols were later adopted by the Arabs, and they remained for centuries among different Arab tribes. So going one by one, for example, Wad, the first one, Wad, they said that this was worshipped by the Kalb tribe in Dummat al-Jandal. And then Suwa' as another tribe called Hudayl, They used to worship Suwa'. And then another tribe used to worship Yaghuth. This tribe was called Murad of the Banu Ghutayf near Saba, close to Yemen. And then Ya'uq used to be worshipped by Hamdan, the tribe of Hamdan. And then Nasr was also worshipped by another tribe called in Himyar, in the area of Himyar. And this tribe was the clan of Dhul Qal'a. So these five idols were originally names of righteous people, righteous men from the time of Nuh alayhi salam. And after they passed away, Shaitan inspired the people to erect statues, idols, to honor them, to honor their gathering places. That sounds familiar, right? Many people do that nowadays with people who are saintly or, very devout Muslims. So at first, these statues or these places of worship, they were not worshipped for themselves, but they were places of recollection or maybe reflection. But over the generations, people started to venerate these people, to give them a higher status. And eventually they became the object of worship, subhanAllah. You see how shaitan, step by step, makes people get away from the original message of Tawheed. So this marked, historically, according to the Quran, the first instance of shirk on earth, And you can find this narration in Bukhari about the five sacred men and the tribes, inshallah. So Shaitan, زُيِّنَ لَهُمْ أَعْمَالَهُم. He beautified their actions for them and leading them to eventually worship these idols, shirk, polytheism, and turning them away from pure monotheism. So this was the first instance, like we said earlier, of idol worship among humans. And now, as far as tajweed for this wad, it's read waddan or wuddan with the dhamma. There's always a dhamma actually, sometimes in the different recitations of the Quran, different qira'at. The last verse for today is verse 24, inshallah. وَقَدْ أَضَلُّوا كَثِيرًا وَلَا تَزِدِ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا ضَلَالًا. So this is that all of these idols that they used to worship, they have misled so many. ضلال ولا الضالين ضلوا, they went away. It misled them. The worship of those idols misled them away. It led them astray. So this doesn't have a subject, and already they have misled men. So some mufassirun, they say that either we are talking here about the idols that have led people or misled people, right? The idol worshipping has misled people, or it can go back to those people who plotted earlier. وَمَكَرُوا مَكْرًا كُبَّارًا, and they conspired an immense conspiracy. You remember what I said earlier? Either the plotters have misled people, or it is the action of the idol worshipping that actually misled people. This action, these idols misled people. Okay. In fact, you can, if you refer back to a chapter from Surah Ibrahim alayhi salam, because أضلوا, they have indeed led many people astray. You can find, for instance, let me find chapter Ibrahim for you. I'm sorry if I haven't prepared it. It's chapter 14 of the Quran. Let me try to find it for you. Quran 14. Yeah, because in this chapter also, in verses 34 and 35, which I'm going to try to find fast for you. Please excuse my kind of slow connection. Yes, 34, 35. Because we're talking also about idols that have misled or misguided people or led them astray. So let me show you. 34, 35, it says here, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in verse 35, 36, sorry. وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا وَاجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامَ. And mention, O Muhammad, when Abraham said, My Lord, make this city or Mecca secure and keep me and my sons away from worshipping idols and نعبد الأصنام. And then رب إنهن أضللن كثيرا من الناس فمن تبعني فإنه مني ومن عصاني فإنك غفور رحيم. My Lord, indeed they have led astray many among the people. Right? So this comes back to the same theme of these idols misleading people, because the wording is very close to this ayah. وَقَدْ أَضَلُّوا كَثِيرًا, and already have misled many. Right? رب إنهن أضللن كثيرا من الناس فمن تبعني فإنه مني. My Lord, indeed these idols have led astray many among the people. So whoever follows me, then he is of me, and whoever disobeys me, indeed you are yet forgiving and merciful. So this is just to kind of make a connection between these two verses and these two chapters, different chapters, to understand what are we talking about here. What is the thing that has led people astray? And if we stick to the tafsir of Surah Ibrahim, it seems that there's a consistency in talking about these idols have misled people. Okay, so I will stop for the tafsir here, inshallah.